Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Thursday, the 9th of November 2023. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed up 20 points today to finish at 7,015 points. That's the highest close in almost 3 weeks. The banks were mixed. Westpac went ex-dividend. Its share price was down 2%, but Commonwealth Bank was up 1.4%. The big miners outperformed, so too Aristocrat Leisure. Newmont fell 4%, while WiseTech Global was off 2.4%. Origin Energy's share price rose more than 2% to close at $8.93 a share after a second proxy advisor, CGI Glass Lewis, said it will recommend shareholders support the Brookfield EIG bid at $9.53 a share. Challenger's share price also rose after it said it was going to expand its ties with an origination agreement with Apollo Global Management. Buy now, pay later group Zip jumped on expectations it will deliver positive cash earnings in fiscal 2024, and bond yields have been falling ever since the Reserve Bank's decision on interest rates on Tuesday. The market's taken the view that there won't be any more rate hikes. At least that's their view this afternoon. Story number 2, there were a few results today and a few AGMs as well. National Australia Bank's share price ended 1% lower after it said it lifted its full-year profit by 9% to $7.7 billion. The second half wasn't as good as the first half, and that worried investors. Explosives manufacturer Orica released its full-year result with its net profit up 16%. Its share price ended 2.3% higher. Casino company Star Entertainment avoided a second strike after a feisty annual meeting, which saw shareholders vent their frustration at the collapse of the company's share price in the face of a raft of action by gaming regulators and anti-money laundering agency Austrac. The Star share price is not far off 20% what it was a year ago. Story number 3, staying in results, accounting software group Xero's share price tumbled 13% today after it reported a $50 million net profit for the September half. There were a few things in the result that analysts didn't like, including a 4th consecutive decline in the subscriber growth rate. Revenue was up, but the bottom line was lower than expected. Relatively new CEO Sukhinder Singh Cassidy was upbeat about the result, focusing on the fact that the group at least made a profit. Taking over from former Chief Executive Steve Vamos in February, Singh Cassidy has reduced Xero's headcount by about 15% and pledged to keep a lid on costs while focusing on growing the company's core accounting business. Story number 4, Scentre Group, which owns all the Westfield malls in Australia, has been able to push through higher rents even though sales in the shopping centres are lower. It's an interesting sector, this one, with mall owners trying to make their properties destinations rather than just shopping centres. Scentre, for example, has recently increased tie-ups with Disney and Netball Australia. It's getting foot traffic in the door. Scentre Chief Executive Elliot Rosenow said that so far this year, Westfield malls have welcomed 410 million customers. That's 28 million more than for the same period last year. But sales growth across the stores in Westfield centres was down 3.2%. Scentre has been able to boost rents paid when new leases are signed, and average rents have risen 7.6% from its specialty retailers. And story number 5, efforts by Qatar and Egypt to negotiate a deal with Hamas leaders to release up to 15 Israeli hostages in exchange for a 48-hour pause have stalled. Both countries have already secured the approval from Hamas to release the hostages, including 6 Americans, but they have failed to get assurances from the US and Israel to accept a humanitarian pause in the current fighting in Gaza, according to senior Egyptian officials. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there can be no ceasefire in Gaza without the release of hostages. A senior Israeli official told the Wall Street Journal that localised tactical pauses are under consideration to boost the flow of humanitarian aid and allow the movement of civilians, adding that a full pause would only occur to allow the release of hostages. Hamas is holding more than 200 people at the moment. That's it for the afternoon report for Thursday, the 9th of November, 2023. Adam Lang and I will be back tomorrow morning with a Friday edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.